title slide?
Yep.
Excellent, excellent. Well, welcome everyone. So excited to be a part of this fantastic meetup and this fantastic group of people. I think I recognize almost everyone here. For those that I have not had the opportunity to meet, my name is Marie Wiese. I'm the president here at Dynamics User Group, also known as Doug, and I'm accompanied by these wonderful leaders who put this group together. So hoping and helping us all be better marketing professionals. So thanks, ladies. And I'm guessing we might get an intro from you if these folks don't already know who you are. So what I'm going to do is just do a really quick introduction to Dynamics User Group for those that haven't heard it before, and then talk just a little bit about some of our programs and our big conference that's coming up. All right, so if you are new to the Doug community, we actually started back in the mid-90s as an open source discussion forum. And then the owners that we currently have actually bought that from the Microsoft MVP who started that out of the kindness of his own heart, because we just felt like there was more to be done. So our big first claim to fame was, of course, the DynamicsCon virtual event, which happened in 2020. And that was all we were going to do, was just a discussion forum and maybe a virtual event. We were just going through COVID. Everybody was stuck at home, no big conferences, which is so sad for community. But from there, we just got so much of an influx of wanting to build another place for these wonderful minds to come together in the biz app space. So that is kind of where we've grown. So we've gone from 8,000 members in 2020 to, this says 45,000, but I actually think it's closer to 50,000 to date. So this is actually even a little behind, but that's all because of wonderful people like all of you who continue to show interest and investment and time and want to find your learning through our Doug resources. So again, joining the Dynamics User Group is completely free. The membership is free, and you get wonderful things like this virtual meetup we're doing today. Okay, so rules of engagement. Well, I don't run the meetup program. So basically the rules are be respectful to each other. Please, be engaging, be curious, contribute. And then if you don't do those things or you do something that's out of whack, then Marie's going to kick you out anyway. So it'll be just fine. But yes, we encourage you to really get involved. This is a wonderful group. I love marketers in our space because they are not shy, which is always fantastic. So certainly get engaged. And ladies, do you have anything else to add from your standpoint as leaders of the group that I should make note of?
No, we have the best group.
Oh, perfect. Okay, well, you guys have the best group already, so you don't need any rules.
Yeah. No, we don't need any rules.
I like that too. You can tell these slides are just here for the people that don't follow them, but the group is already perfect, so it's fine. Again, if you're not as familiar with Doug and the community programs that we offer, we support the products that you see on the left-hand side of the screen. A lot of things besides the meetups. We have webinars that run, a few of them every month. We still have the discussion forum. We have our virtual and in-person conferences, both with the name DynamicsCon to them. We also have SkillUp, which is where you can purchase some special certification courses. And then we always have our YouTube channel as well for anyone that's interested. And I believe virtual meetups like this one today will actually be recorded and posted on our YouTube channel under the meetup section. Okay, and I think everyone's kind of coming from different places on this call just by recognizing some of the names, which is fantastic. So we always just like to highlight some of our big regional events. So today we're doing our wonderful condensed virtual meetup for this month, but we do also offer big full day or 2-day regional events. So I'm just going to put those up on the screen. We've got 2 pages. So anyone from West Africa by chance or anywhere near that, raise your hand on the call. Okay, well, if you want to go to West Africa and attend a regional Doug meetup, there is an opportunity for you. And here's a few more, a little closer to home for those of us that are in the US. And I do believe we have some folks that are in Canada that are also a part of this group. So hopefully if they're not on, they catch this recording and see on the last slide, we do have a Canadian meetup as well, or excuse me, a Canadian regional coming up as well. All right, and last but not least, I will just go ahead and highlight something big. We just announced everyone that is part of this meetup group has the chance to get a, oh, my screen just went black on me. I hope it didn't for you guys. It's such a cliffhanger. Can you guys see my screen still?
It's black.
It's gone black.
Oh my gosh, okay. showing was our DynamicsCon in Chicago event happening May 13th through the 16th. And the big thing is we just rolled out a complimentary code for any of our Meetup members. So the comp code, discount code that you want to put in is Meetup member, all one word, capital M, Meetup member. That will get you a complimentary code to DynamicsCon in May. And I'm so sorry that my screen has gone back. I'm trying to bring it back up. Here we go. Can you guys see that? We'll do it that way.
I put that in the chat as
Yeah.
well.
Perfect, thank you. Take action on this now while you guys are here. You're seeing it and we're talking about it. It ends on February 28th. Then we will go back to regular pricing. So Merry Christmas late, everyone. Happy New Year. Get a comp code to DynamicsCon. We'd love to have you there. Your fabulous leaders of this group have all participated, I believe, in at least one DynamicsCon, either virtual or in person. So they would love to see you as well. And maybe you guys can even get your group together in person for a happy hour or something like that in Chicago.
We will absolutely be doing a marketing happy hour in Chicago, so stay tuned for details on that. And then I don't think you have a slide here for it, but there is the partner marketing event, which is the one-day event for marketers that takes place right before DynamicsCon. We have coupon codes for that as well. So you can get a free ticket up until March 1st. After March 1st, you can get 50% off a ticket, and those coupon codes are in the chat. I just put those in there. I just got them literally 20 minutes ago. So thank you, Rick McCutcheon, for that. That was perfect timing. I'm glad I was able to share that today. So
excellent. Yes. And partner marketing event is absolutely for this audience. So apologies, we don't have a slide in this deck for that, but that is also happening on the 13th. So if you're already planning on coming to DynamicsCon, just come in a night early or really early on Tuesday morning if you can get there. We're going to do partner marketing event all day Tuesday and then roll right into the welcome reception Tuesday evening. So hope to see you guys there. And that's all I have. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Molly. That was great. And for those who didn't see the slide, I realized we also had it. We could have had your back. I'm sorry about that.
Perfect.
We really could have had your back.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
So do you want us to jump in, Kelly? Do you want to do any other intro here, or what do you want us to do?
No, we can jump right into the content. So we've got Marie and Elle here today. They're going to be talking about supercharging SEO using ChatGPT, which I know we've talked about SEO in the past at different meetups. This is a topic that's near and dear to my heart too. It's one of my favorite areas of marketing. So I'm really excited for this. So we've got a great presentation from Marie and Elle, and then lots of time for a Q&A and open discussion at the end as well. So please feel free to come off mute, and I'll be monitoring the chat throughout the presentation to help with questions as well.
Beautiful. And we like to be very interactive in all of our presentations, not just the meetup, which we know this group is always very interactive. So please do put your questions into the chat. We're going to be paying attention as well. Elle and I are kind of co-presenting this, so each one of us are also paying attention to the chat. So welcome to the session today, Supercharge SEO Opportunities with ChatGPT in 2025. Elle and I have road tested this presentation, and we keep having to dig in for more content, don't we, Elle? We're always on the lookout here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Marie Wiese. I'm the CEO of Marketing Copilot. I'm a Microsoft MVP in AI. And just FYI, in case you think we're jumping on the Copilot bandwagon here, Marketing Copilot has been a registered trademark of ours since 2012. And I would love to say we had a vision that this is where Microsoft's going, but obviously that's not true. But we do want to point out that for those of you who don't know us, we've been working in the channel for over 10 years and working in tech for close to 30 now. Not Elle, because she would have been in diapers when she was working in the channel, but she's going to explain her background. Elle, take it away.
Yeah, hello, I'm Elle, as Marie said. I am quite new here. I'm coming up on 2 years at Marketing Copilot, actually next week, I believe. So that's exciting. In my role, I work as a marketing coordinator, so I execute a lot of the marketing activities, both internally and then for the clients that we work with. And recently, we kind of tacked on something new to my title. So essentially, a part of my job now is to look into how AI can support marketing activities, looking into how we can use AI more responsibly, which is something that we've been having a lot of conversations about at Marketing Copilot. But I'm a writer and a designer by trade, so integrating technology has been an interesting and fun sort of learning experience
I think it
for
has
me.
been for all marketers. I think the
Yeah.
last few months have been interesting. So, our agenda today, does SEO even matter? People are probably asking that question. And as you're looking at your budgets for 2025, you're probably wondering, what is that going to mean for my SEO budget? What are the changes we're seeing? What's the difference between search engines and AI tools? And, what should your 2025 SEO and keyword strategy be? I also wanted just to say that we do have some workbooks that we're happy to give to people. So we're going to put our email address up at the end of this. And if you would like to get any of those workbooks, please feel free to reach out and we're happy to share those with you. So, when our team sat down to talk about this topic, and we're implementing programs for Microsoft partners and ISVs, so we get to see this nice bird's eye view across a lot of companies around what people are doing and how things are working specifically for end customers, partners, and ISVs in the Microsoft channel. And what we saw is that we're just seeing such bad results from Google Ads. And if anybody on the call today is getting good results from Google Ads, we'd love to hear from you, because we're just seeing right across the board that Google Ads are not driving the lead gen that it used to. When we did a survey of a number of partners, I think we spoke to over 25 partners in 2024 and towards the end of 2024 in October. 80% said that their new leads were coming from referrals, that they basically existed in 2024 from a sales perspective off of what they call existing logos. And so that was interesting because, we thinking, is this a trend? Is this where this is going? And what we also found out from a lot of people is that keyword strategies just weren't working. And even when people were spending a lot of money on it, and let me just use an example, Microsoft partners implementing ERP would be a great keyword. When you see the competition and you see what's going on with that, the effort to get any kind of traction on something like that ends up being very generic and very competitive is kind of brutal. So back in 2012, and I referenced it at the beginning of at the top of the session, we wrote a book called the Keyword Strategy Workbook, and we at the time were having to educate people about how to do SEO in a business-to-business environment. And so we talked about these types of keywords, which I'm sure all good marketers know about. They know that they've got to have good traction on branded, and I've just put an example using our name, short tail, long tail questions and competitors. And even back in 2012, 2014, when we were working with customers, we were really telling people to focus on long tail keywords and questions at the time, that in the B2B sector, that was really where people were getting wins. So hold on to that thought, because that's going to really affect chat, and Elle's going to dive into that in a minute. But we just wanted to get a level set that when you're building a keyword strategy in SEO, this is basically what you're doing. All right, Elle.
Alrighty.
Tell us about recent changes. Why do they matter?
Yeah. So, ChatGPT has been around for quite some time now. And one of the things I think we often neglect to remember is that it's constantly updating, but there's been some big ones recently. And one of them is the open search feature. So now ChatGPT can exist as an extension to your browser for all registered users. There's also now source linking. So when you ask for a specific piece of information, it'll link you directly back from where it scraped that on the web. And it does this because it has been updated for more improved web scraping. There's been more selective data scraping in its outputs. It specifically has been prioritizing authoritative content and frequently updated websites. So websites that are really standing out on the topic and keeping their content up to date. And finally, tell me.
Let's just do a quick poll here, if I can interject. So could everybody just throw into the chat yes or no? How many of you have ChatGPT and are using it in your browser and are taking advantage of some of these source linking and search features? Just throw in yes, no. Throw it in there. Molly, thank you. Yes. Tara, not yet. Just keep them coming, because I'd love to see what percentage of people on the call today are already experiencing this. Okay, cool. Keep going, Elle.
Yeah, and the last, recent change, which is arguably what I think is what is affecting SEO most right now, is there's been an increased emphasis on context. So these large language models, specifically ChatGPT, have started to be trained in advancements in natural language understanding, which means they not only understand what you're asking for, but why you're asking for it. They do this to help contextualize your search intent and provide a more nuanced option. So they're really getting good at targeting why we're searching, not just what we're searching. And this has some implications for us. So Marie, if you want to go to the,
Hold on.
No worries.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry. What does this mean for us? Sorry about that, Elle.
No, all good. It just means that we're going to get increased potential for website referral traffic from ChatGPT because we have that source linking. So your website could come up in a response from a large language model. It means valuable, frequent, and up-to-date content is absolutely essential because we saw that it's now, picking out those authoritative and frequently updated websites. And it also means you need to know what your prospects are searching for, not in technical language, not in all the nitty-gritty details, but in plain human language. Which leads us to what is the difference between AI and traditional search? I don't know, Marie, if you want to take that away.
Sorry, Elle, my fingers aren't, it's so cold here in Canada. My fingers aren't working as well as they should. All right.
I understand.
So I think that what we're seeing is an uptick. And I think also one of the things you got to point out is as you're starting to see some of these stats, we're collecting data the old way. So there's probably a bunch of work that has to get done to figure out how we're collecting AI data. But 57% of people being surveyed now are saying they're using it daily. We're seeing 49% using it instead of traditional search. And I know personally, I'm using it instead of traditional search because I love the detail it's giving back. And 67% think AI could replace traditional search engines within 3 years. Now, Elle and I have had a conversation about this. We think it's going to be faster, don't we?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things to pay attention to with these statistics. One, yes, ChatGPT and other large language models are becoming increasingly popular and integrated into our daily search functions, but that doesn't mean that other search engines are dead in the water by any means, because Google still accounts for 92.4% of market share of referral traffic. So yes, we're seeing unprecedented growth for ChatGPT, but our classic search engines are still very much in use. And also they're adapting to these changes. They're incorporating their own AI features.
Absolutely. So one of the things you talked about when we said that it's this new search information that it's bringing in, it's obviously going out to Google and scraping it, right? So that's why we want to talk about long tail and questions in your keyword strategy and what the implications are for making sure that questions are answered. But the first thing you want to do before you jump in here is you want to figure out who your audience is. And it's really important, especially for, end users of Microsoft products, when you think about what you're doing and how you're using it, that's going to have one case, especially if you're a manufacturer and you're trying to bring in traffic of people who may or may not be interested in purchasing your your services. But we know specifically for Microsoft partners, as an example, they're selling to technology teams. And so you really want to think about who that audience is. Are they technology professionals, or are you working with industry leaders? And where is your audience sitting in all of this? So I think these are really important things for marketers to take into consideration about your end customers, and why it's more important than ever that you have a very well documented buyer persona for the people that you're hoping will find you, look for you. So your ideal buyers should always inform your content strategy first and foremost. And we have a buyer persona workbook. I think there might be somebody on the call who isn't muted, and we probably should mute them. Okay.
Got it.
Sorry about that. So we really think that having a buyer persona documented about what their priorities are, what they care about, what they're asking in the search journey is really going to inform your AI strategy. And it really should still be informing your overall keyword strategy. So that's really important. The next thing is how to optimize content for ChatGPT. So dig in here, Al. You're our resident expert on prompting. So explain the difference.
Yeah, so there's, a couple differences here. I mean, the main one is that when you're searching something on Google or in your preferred web browser, typically you're just trying to get to the point quite quickly, right? So if I'm going out and I'm looking for restaurants to eat at in New York, I'm going to just Google best restaurants NYC. But if I know how to prompt, or, I think that I'm going to, perhaps get a more detailed output, maybe I'll hop over to ChatGPT. And then it'll be a little more conversational, right? I would ask it, can you recommend me the best fine dining restaurants in NYC with a view of Central Park? Prompting, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of ways that you can optimize your prompt, but even for, your average AI user who may not know a ton about the exact way to prompt an LLM, they're still typically going to go with a conversational tone, which means that your websites need to reflect these conversational questions that are being asked by your prospects. Which leads
I think that's key. Don't you agree? That's the key right there.
Exactly. And the next slide's the real kicker, because it means we need to return to long tail keywords. I think long tail keywords have always been important, Marie, since, even in 2012, like you said, when you first created that workbook, long tail keywords were still a big part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what we are saying to people, and we've always said to people, is that, think about the top 10 questions that you get asked in the sales process. So whatever those top 10 questions are, those should be blog posts on your website. If you don't have those on your website, it's not too late to get them, because there's, a great way to get that content together quickly. But those are the kinds of things you need to make sure are there, because now, instead of somebody searching for a Microsoft partner in ERP, they're going to start to search really important questions like, how do I upgrade my ERP system cost effectively, and who's the best partner to help me do this? And you want to get found in ChatGPT when those types of questions are being asked. It's such a qualified lead right there that you need to make sure this is an important part. And I know long tail and questions as part of a keyword strategy were always the part of the keyword strategy that got left to the end. And what ended up happening is a lot of people ignored putting this types of content on their website. And so Elle, what's the impact of that? Why should we care?
Well, first and foremost, long tail keywords are going to help reduce competition with generic keywords, even within your own site, because when you rank for a specific word, if you have 2 pages ranking for the same word, they're competing with each other already, right? So having these long tail keywords makes it easier to rank for what you actually want to be found for. The next one is it's increasing relevance for users seeking detailed information or solutions. We talk a lot at Marketing Copilot about what should be on your website. What is the thing that you need to answer on your website? And oftentimes, one of the biggest things we see when we do website analyses is people aren't answering those big questions with detail or clearly. So it's important that we use these long tail keywords so that when people have a question, they can directly find the answer. And then finally, it's going to enhance your content visibility, both within your traditional search engine searches and AI prompts. And there's one more facet to this that I'm just going to briefly mention. Long tail keywords, conversational format questions, all that good stuff, is also very good for those people who use voice assistant for search. So, if you ever go, hey Siri, look up blah, blah, blah for me, people are asking Siri or Alexa questions in really plain human conversational language. So you're also going to optimize your visibility on that front by having frequently asked question pages or sections on your website, by keeping them up to date.
And I want to point out something about that because, this is something you brought to my attention, Al, and I was really grateful that you did. That these large language models, the LLMs that the chat GPTs of the world are taking their content from, we don't know where a lot of that data is coming from, which is why we talk a lot about responsible AI. But we don't know where that's coming from. And it could be coming from data from Siri for all we know, right? So even though you think my customer is never going to ask Siri a question about my business, but that's not true. That's taking a whole bunch of data from all over the place. You never know where it takes the data. So when somebody goes into ChatGPT, to start prompting, you don't know where it's got that information from and where it's going to come up. I just want to throw out another poll to the group today, and please weigh in on this. How many people have a long tail and question-based keyword strategy for the company they're working for? Yes, if you have it. No, if you don't. Just throw it into the chat there for me. I'd love to see who's got one. Okay. Awesome. Monica, good job. Okay, we got a question. Rick McCutcheon, yes.
What if you don't know what a long tail search term is?
Do you mean how do you go do the research to figure that out? Is that what you're asking?
Both parts. What is the definition of long tail? And how do you figure it out?
Yeah, so long tail I think would be any more than 4 words, would you say, Elle, in its definition?
I would, yeah.
And we have, if you want to get a copy of the workbook, happy to share it. But in the workbook, it suggests that you want to reverse engineer the long tail keywords based on your buyer personas and what they're looking for and what they care about. And then you want to use tools like SEMrush to go search for volume of certain things so that you can narrow it down. And that's how we've traditionally built keyword strategies, where we have immediate intent, long-term intent, and then research. And that's how we do it. But if anybody on the call today has another answer for that, we'd love to hear it. I don't know if anybody else has an answer. That's a great question, Rick. Thanks for asking it.
If we go to the next slide, we also kind of answer that question. One of the things about long tail keywords is chances are they kind of already exist in your company's vocabulary and content. You just haven't identified that is where you need to be focusing, right?
Absolutely.
Because often they're related to services or products as well. So there's a couple ways you can do that. Like Marie said, you can use tools like SEMrush, which I think is personally a fantastic tool. But then you can also do the obvious thing, which almost seems too obvious. And at first, you think it's a little silly, but you can also prompt ChatGPT or whatever your large language model of choice is, to see what your buyer personas would be searching for. Help like get it to brainstorm a list of potential keywords for you, or look at Google's suggested searches. You know, when you search something up and it's like other people searched this, look at those. And then, you know, you could also do the nitty-gritty thing about diving into Reddit or Quora or any sort of even, you know, service or product specific forum to see what questions people are asking that you need to be answering on your site.
I don't know if anybody on the call today has noticed that a lot of times Reddit is coming up as an answer in Google search. And that's because Reddit's paying big bucks to do that. So that's why I think it's important to use tools like Reddit as well when you're doing your research, because you're going to find some really cool things. I have to tell you, you know, being an older marketer, when Elle told me that you could use ChatGPT to do your keyword strategy, I was a little bit mind blown by that. I'm not going to lie to you. I was thinking, oh my God, yeah, of course you can go in and say to it, what are my buyers looking for? So again, it's why you have to do the heavy lifting up front to make sure you've documented and you really know your buyer, because you can start making it work. You can get that broad research, start broad and start to narrow it down, and then start to, you know, leverage those tools just like Elle had said. I think it's important that you ensure that you've got really good content libraries happening on your website. We've been blogging since 2007. And even though I would admit that it's messy on our website, the fact of the matter is there's been a lot of content there for a long time. So I think that's keeping us in good stead with both ChatGPT and with Google still, or whatever other traditional search engines. And I've done a deep dive on this. So great, you know, great task for everybody today. Go open up ChatGPT and ask the question related to your company. Why do people buy from this company? And see that.
Yeah, just
thank you, Ryan. Sorry,
Yeah.
great note from Ryan there. Just in the chat, check out Ryan's trick there that he used. And, you know, do try to make it conversational on your website. It's really important that you're thinking through those questions, and you really want to start clustering content. There was a big movement a few years back, I would say kind of like 4 years ago, around pillar page content, where you would go deep on one particular topic, and it was almost like a microsite within your site. We found pillar pages worked really well, but it can sometimes be a gamble. You're gambling that your customer does really care about that and they're searching for it. So I think there's other ways to tackle that now on a website, and I think that's really important. So let's throw it open. Questions, comments, concerns. We don't want to be the only ones talking. Give us your thoughts here. Anybody want to share anything they've been doing?
I'll start. At the beginning of your presentation, you had a slide that showed some of the extensions that people can use now for ChatGPT. What are some examples of how you guys are using that in content creation?
Yeah, I'll take this question because I would probably say that I have been doing a lot of that. Yeah. There's a couple things. First and foremost, when it comes to content creation, the reality is if you're not working on the prompts you're putting in, you're not going to get a good output. So, you know, I would even just recommend doing a quick Google search of like tips for prompting. I know that my coworker and I, Maddie, are doing a lunch and learn on it next month, because you want to ask the right question. I personally don't use the ChatGPT browser function because I use a variety of AI tools and I'm not like married to one specifically. And I don't love using ChatGPT as my search engine, so to speak. But for content creation, I personally do really like ChatGPT, and I also really like Gemini. But I think someone had mentioned it earlier in the chat, Perplexity. And I would recommend Perplexity if you ever need to scrape a web page. That has probably some of the best web scraping functionalities right now. So that's what I would say. I don't know if that fully answers your question.
And
But
I'll
yeah.
I'll just add the other thing I've been doing, especially when I've been helping clients with things like lead magnets and stuff like that. What I do is I go back to our documented buyer persona, who's
Yeah.
buying from a company and why. And I look at some of the top challenges that they have. The part of the buyer persona outline that I love is, why would they not buy from you? What
Mm.
stops them from buying from you? And you look at those things. Your company's too small. You don't have enough customers like me in your audience base. You don't have, and I take those kinds of things and I put them in to say, what options does this buyer have for solving this problem? So you have to be laser like focused on the problem you solve for a customer so that you can do this. And it usually gives you an outline. And again, as Elle mentioned, it's more of a brainstorming tool in the way we're using it right now because it pulls up information that we might not have thought about. We're very committed to ensuring that when a company puts out anything, it's tied back to their value proposition and why their customers should buy from them so that we can weed out generic content that anybody could find and anybody could post. And that's why it's really important to have clarity around your value proposition and clarity around your buyer persona so that you can then get ideas and then decide how that applies based on your audience. And that's what we're doing today with it. Any other questions anybody wants to throw out there? And I've just popped up this slide so that, if something comes to mind later on, please email either Elle or myself. We love answering questions from people. We're always happy to, engage in a conversation on some of this stuff if you're looking for ideas. Any other questions people have?
Not a question, but another tip I'll share is that I've always gotten the best results out of SEO when repurposing content. And I think that using any kind of AI right now is a really, really great way to speed up that process. So if you've invested in a white paper or creating a new blog post, or even hosting a webinar, taking a transcript from that, popping that into ChatGPT and, asking it to help you create other pieces of content on that same topic. I know this is something we've talked about in past meetups as well, but I can't recommend that enough. It's a great way to get more
That's a
content on your website.
fantastic idea. It's a fantastic idea. A friend of mine recently took a medical information that they had received following some surgery and put it in ChatGPT and said, put this in, put this in terms that a 10-year-old would understand. And use ChatGPT to try to break down what's the post-surgical analysis. So I'm not suggesting we should diagnose ourselves that way, but I think that your point about taking a white paper and saying, what's another way to talk about this for the business team versus maybe the white paper had been written for a technical team? What's another way to have this conversation? And that is just a brilliant way to get it to work for you, because in the past that would have taken a ton of time to build.
I'll also say I'm using it to build out my content calendar. If these are like the 3 pillars I want to talk about in 2025, like give me some blog post titles and talking points that I should use.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I've been working on doing. I think, I don't know, perhaps I'm a little old school. I don't know how to set this up, but I don't love having my content being created solely by AI, right? So like Marie said, I use it a lot for brainstorming, and part of that is the development of a content calendar that I can go in and be like, okay, this really works for me. How can I develop and flesh this out a little bit more? So I think it's always important that you mix your own brilliance with whatever you're getting from your AI tool.
think it was
Yeah,
2 years
absolutely.
ago, the very first partner marketing event. I was sitting with Monica Hoyer, and the rule I learned about ChatGPT that I still live by today is review and refine.
Yes, absolutely. And that I think will never go away from my most humble
Yeah,
opinion.
absolutely. Anybody else? Yeah, Mr. McCutcheon.
So I'm blown away by it all the time, and I almost don't feel like sharing it because it's so good, right? But today I'm building out a sales process for one of the ISVs, and I said, give me the outline for the first meeting between a Microsoft ISV and a partner, and it gave me a really good outline. And then I turned around and I said, okay, give me the same outline for a follow-up meeting for a partner that you haven't been with in a while or haven't worked with in a while. And it gave me the same outline, but in a different positioning, right? And I'm
Right.
thinking, this is great because there was probably 5 items I didn't even think about that I could
But
bring up. So
I,
you know, you need to know what you're looking for and you need to know what to ask, but it's pretty impressive.
yeah, so that's the 2 points you made were the ones I was just going to back up there, like, and say, you know what to prompt it because you have the experience to know what to be asking it, right? And that's really, really important. And you know what you're looking for to be able to say, yeah, that's good. So that's why, and I thank you for sharing that, Rick, because I think that that really illustrates the point in my mind, anyways. And maybe, maybe again, this is wishful thinking, but it demonstrates the point that you still need somebody turn in the knobs that understands the process you're mining or understands what you're trying to do with it, because you're able to then bring your experience to say, yeah, this is good because I know in the past this has happened and I'm going to try this now. So I think that's really important, and I think that's where it really does augment what you're doing. But to just randomly use something and not know whether it's good or not is dangerous. Like, don't use it. Yeah, Monica.
Yeah, to kind of iterate on all of that, we have found that using other GPTs in ChatGPT is super helpful, and you can just ask a super simple question, but it will answer that question based on the GPT that you're in. And Al, you might be better at telling the group how to find those GPTs, but like if I take a course, they may give me a GPT that I can use as a resource, or I think there's a way to search GPTs for anything you're doing, and the response that you get back is much more robust, and you can rely on it a little bit more than just asking a simple question. So go ahead.
Yes. So there's a couple things with GPTs, and this is also something that's carried on throughout a variety of different AI tools, is this creation of subject matter experts. Um, so yes, you could go out and you can find, ones that have already been created, but you can also create your own. And this is what I would recommend doing in your GPT, in your ChatGPT, is to create your own specific one. So we have a marketing copilot one that we use that we've, gone in and told it, what's our methodology? What's our strategy? So when we ask a question, it already knows sort of what our line of thinking is, right? I mean, I have my own GPT for, I was very recently a university student, and I had one that knew all about film analysis for me. So I could go in and ask it a question. And that way, you're getting more specific and targeted outputs. So I definitely think it is something to explore, to not just be prompting a large language model like very generally, but go in and see if there's a SAT expert you can use, if there's a GPT you can use, if there's a GPT you can make. It's pretty user friendly to make your own as well. You just add GPT and then it'll give you kind of a questionnaire that you prompt with the information. And there's lots of ways you can trick it out.
And I think the other thing that is really important about that is you might, for anybody on the call today who has gated content or gated content that you have to pay for, you're going to want to rethink that strategy because ChatGPT is finding that data and finding that information. So the days of gating things, I think, is really starting to, wane. And we've seen content being returned that should have been behind a gate, and it was content that people were charging for, and suddenly it's showing up in the ChatGPT result. So I think, people who have subscription libraries and things like that, you're going to have to, go back in and rethink some of that because somehow they're finding that information and it's not going to have the value that it had before. So that's another place you might want to rethink some of your strategy. Do we have any more questions? Kelly, do you want to wrap and do a quick promo for next month?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just popping it in the chat right now, but next month we're going to be talking all about video best practices, and we have Peter, well, I'm not going to attempt to say his last name. Peter M will be joining us next month.
Matacek.
Thank you, Monica.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Monica.
For anyone
I wasn't
that's
going to
heard
attempt
Peter
that one
speak,
either.
yeah, Peter is such a great speaker, and he is just like the king of video. He does such a great job for all of his clients. He works with Microsoft as well, and just does a great job of making video creation easy. He does a great job of like removing barriers when it comes to getting started with video creation, whether it's demo sites or demo videos for your website or just content on LinkedIn as well. So there is a ton that we can learn from him next month. So make sure you register for that as well. Link is there in the chat. And yeah, make sure that you are, if you're, can make it to Chicago, we've got those coupon codes in the chat as well. So make sure you take advantage of those.
Okay. Well, listen, thanks everyone for being here. Thanks for coming and listening to this topic and not just searching it in ChatGPT. I hope you found it useful. And as always, we love feedback. We love people reaching out. So please do, if there's anything we can help you with or just share some of our learnings. Thanks, everyone. And I think we can give people a few minutes back in their day, Kelly.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.